economic dialogue with the public sector. The NESG recommended that state enterprises should be freed up and commercialized as a first step, with the ultimate aim of privatizing them. The government agreed and set about putting the reforms in place. Many of the state-owned enterprises would eventually be taken over by the private sector in one of the biggest privatization exercises in the whole of Africa. With the public and private sectors now the best of friends, the alliance opened the way for a new approach to economic development and assured the NESG its place in history.
I think one of the things that differentiated it from other associations, trade associations, industry associations, and otherwise, is that it was very clear from day one that the only hat that the members of the Nigerian Economic Summit would wear is the Nigeria hat, not this trade or that group or this group. What's good for Nigeria. And when we say what's good for Nigeria, it has to be good to the common man.
Not only did the NESG become the organizer of the annual summit meetings between the public and the private sectors, its extensive research links with such respected institutions as the Lagos Business School gave it substantial capacity to address macroeconomic and policy issues. By May 2003, as President Obasanjo campaigned for re-election, the NESG was on top of its game. On its platform, it could boast of having helped the government to create a new vision for the country, introduce the privatization program, as well as far-reaching banking and pension reforms, the establishment of regulatory agencies, the GSM revolution, and much more.
Today you can see many national institutions have been privatized. There's a high level of liberalization in the economy. The private sector is playing much more active role. Telecoms revolution and all that. Those are major areas of our impact.
Take the GSM revolution. Everybody gives credit to Obasanjo. But Obasanjo at first was minded to resist it at the time. How could you just allow people to come in and, given the background, when he ran Nigeria before, it was command economy. And now, and then with his military backgrounds. So he couldn't understand how you just open the doors and so on. But NESG was part of the group that re-educated him.
Today, the trail and legacy of the NESG is there for all to see.
I have had occasion to work with the NESG very closely over the last 4 or 5 years. And I would say that it has certainly created a very significant impact in terms of the private sector really becoming a partner to the Nigerian project.
Everywhere you look in Nigeria's deregulated, democratized and free economy, you'll find traces of the NESG lying beneath the dramatic changes that are slowly transforming the country's economic landscape.
Most of the institutions you see today, EFCC, ICPC, and what have you, came out of recommendations of the summit. An IPC, to have a one-stop investment center for promoting investment, issues of corruption and all that. There have been quite a lot of institutions that have been set up, partly, I don't want to take all the credit, but partly by this dialogue and the recommendations.
And then NESG became almost completely irrelevant, in my view, within the Yar'Adua times when the reforms were suspended, there was no action, and you didn't get the sense that NESG had the ability in those years to influence policy. The government clearly knew what they wanted to do. It was not to proceed on those market-based reforms, and I don't think there was a voice that could stop them.
To boost its traditional link with government and enhance its overseas reach, the NESG brought in Frank Nweke Jr., a 3-time federal minister, as its Director General to help accelerate its national and global spread.
In the last 2.5 years since I've been here, I think we've gotten to a level that was unprecedented in the context of the fact that, unlike in the past, when a sitting president would come to the summit, declare it open, and then be on their way, that His Excellency President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan has been extremely gracious and has been extremely engaging with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. He started what we call the presidential policy dialogues, which will normally take anything between 2 to 3 hours during the annual summits.
Office of the Director General, NESG, good morning.
These days, the NESG has become a sort of godfather of Nigerian economic policy. This secretariat, located in Lagos, is at the heart of its operations, helping to create a new understanding of economic, political and social issues in Nigeria.
As you know, NESG's output is for national economic development, especially from the private sector, input perspective. And because we play at that high level, we say that our role is very strategic to driving national development, not only from the economic flank, but also even on the politics, especially on governance issues.
I've been here for 5 years now, and through the process, I know the NESG has contributed to a series of decisions that were taken by the government, the past and the present. Like I understand that the Lagos Business School was established out of the recommendations of the NESG. And right now we have an ICT ministry which we have been canvassing for the past years.
I'm lucky to be the central anchor of the Joint Planning Commission, which involves both public and private sector members of the organizing committee. So it's quite taxing, but I enjoy it, I would like to say, because I learn from all of these challenges, and then the opportunity of meeting people, of different levels. So I'm deeply involved in the summit process.
Beyond deepening core business knowledge in government, the NESG has also pioneered a more integrated approach to ethics and regulation in business, whilst emphasizing leadership development. As a mark of its increasingly global profile, the NESG's 2011 summit is being attended by investors and business leaders from across the world.
The essence of the summit is to try and see what kind of policies people who want to invest in this country think we need to put in place that will make it interesting for them to come here. And there's a whole load of them that we hope we will discover during the summit.
My idea about the summit in Abuja is that it will be attended by Nigerian investors and their foreign partners as well. And the hope is that they would hear good stories, not just about plans by government, but also good stories about investment success in Nigeria, case studies.
Today, nearly 2 decades after those first tentative steps that took the Nigerian economy in a new direction, the NESG train is still moving at full speed and is unlikely to slow down anytime soon.
I believe that the way that the president, for example, reacted to the NES conference report of last year, where it was presented to the Federal Executive Council, discussed, and a number of the recommendations that were made where the ministers responsible were directed to go ahead and implement them. I think this shows the level of the partnership that has worked very well.
The outlook for the future is decidedly upbeat, ringing with passion and conviction.
The most important thing is that, first of all, we have to sustain our level of discussion with the government, because we don't see it as we against them. It's our economy, it's our country. So therefore, we will continue to have this dialogue regularly, which is what informs the Economic Summit series.
How we move from advocacy to assisting in the implementation, driving the implementation of those things that we all know that we need to do in the Nigerian economy. That's the focus I want the NESG to shift towards.
I kind of believe it should stay faithful to the principles we set up in the beginning, which I believe it has done, and continue to evolve with building the next generation of people into leadership, and be extremely supportive of building this enabling environment, including the governance of the country, in an unselfish way where nation building comes first.
Now the country needs, in my opinion, organizations such as NESG even more, because it's going to get tougher. People are going to judge us harsher, not because they don't like us, but to whom a lot is given, a lot is expected. You want to become one of the top 20 economies in the world, then you're going to be looked at more critically.
In my view, the NESG should continue to serve as a catalyst. And the real challenge for the country is execution. So anything we can do to fast track the process of either decision making or execution capability should be our focus.
The NESG should now look beyond even Nigeria. We should look at what is happening in other countries. Because the whole world is like a global village. So we need to see what is going on in other countries on a continuous basis.
Since that first historic economic summit 18 years ago, Nigeria has become democratic and has opened up its economy to both domestic and foreign investors. The economy has grown at an amazing average of 7% a year. Gradually but steadily, the dream of those courageous businessmen who confronted the military dictatorship and created an alliance between the public and private sectors is becoming reality. And slowly but surely, thanks in part to the NESG, the world is coming to Nigeria.